You go to the store and you buy every single part that you think you might need for the job,
And you still
and
don't
then
have
you
the right one.
and then you come home and you do the job and you're still missing it. So you still make three trips to the hardware store. And then when you're done, you return all the extra stuff because that stuff just sits in a bin in your garage for the next 10 years. Or you can call the plumber and he's got every single thing on the truck.
Right. Yes. Every time I have a plumbing problem, I call, and we have a guy that I've known for 30 years that lives out here that runs a
Yeah.
heating and air plumbing HVAC company, and I just call him, and he sends his minions over. He comes half the time,
Now,
fixes the problem, and we all have a better day.
I mean, I'm a big fan of DIY and I'm a big fan of learning. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to plumbing, here's the major difference that sells me, besides just, the guy's got every inventory part on the truck and all the tools to use them already. So that's like a big plus there. But if I go down to Menards and I buy the faucet and then I install it, Menards warranties the faucet. So I have to install it, find out it's broken or leaky or whatever. Then I have
Hmm.
to uninstall it. Then I have to drive back to the store. Then I have to give it to them. Then I have to come back. Then I have to reinstall it to find out that it may or may not be leaky again. When my plumber goes to Menards, because it's the only fracking supplier in Northwest Wisconsin, he buys the exact same faucet, but now he has warranted the install as well as
Right.
the return and replacement stuff. So like that that right there is money in the bank in my terms.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, you pay for convenience. The old lady taught me that one,
mhm.
and I don't mean that in an ex-wife kind of way. I mean that was like that's one of her little sayings. You pay for convenience. And there's a lot to be said for that because, I mean, honestly, changing out the float stuff in the toilet, plumbing is witchcraft to me.
Yeah,
It's black, dark, forbidden magics. And every time I screw with it, I end up calling up one of the great old ones or something. And
right.
I'm not, I don't even pretend to screw with it. The dryer broke last weekend. I'm like, oh, easy peasy. Knew what it was because it quit making hot air. I'm like, okay, well, that's a heater, a thermostat, and a cutoff. I
Yeah.
ordered the kit. Took me about an hour, just
RepairClinic.com, not sponsored.
mostly just to pull parts, get into the inside of
Yeah.
it, and swapped out three parts, one of which was broken. Don't care. I'm in here swapping parts. We're going to swap all three. The whole kit was $25. I'll
Yeah.
do electrical stuff in a heartbeat. Plumbing, mm,
So it gets weird though, because so I was raised, God bless my parents if you want to go down that path, but I was raised that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. So there's a lot of things that I have attempted to do because you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't do this. I shouldn't have even attempted to do this. And so as I've gotten older and I've wizened, I have learned that I just wanted to use that word on stream. I've been
did
trying
you
for
whizen
years.
before the show?
Yeah. No, no, that's a whole different word. That means something completely different than what I'm talking about. Anyway, I have learned that I have a certain set of talents and I can exploit those talents for money. And that money can turn into a plumber coming in and fixing my sink for me. Like I am really good at making YouTube thumbnails, unlike somebody I know right here. So I will make a YouTube thumbnail that makes a video, and then I will use that 3 cents that I get from YouTube to hire a plumber. Kind of a bad financial analogy, but go with it.
I'm I'm with you on that. I mean, a man's got to know his limitations. Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry,
Yeah.
1972, I think.
Now,
And
my ex-wife did a huge disservice to my kids, and she taught them that, oh, you're not old enough for that yet. Oh, you shouldn't try that. And so my kids are very shy about trying things, and that's the exact opposite. And then another person is like, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I don't know if that's a balance, if that would cause more pain or not. But the other two, one of them worked, one of them didn't, or both of them didn't work, depending on your perspective.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm not afraid to dig into, and a lot of stuff I enjoy digging into. Julie was ready to buy a new dryer last Sunday. I mean, it was like I could detect a trip to Lowe's on the cusp. And I'm like, no, we're not buying a new dryer. A dryer's like $1,000. I'm not buying another dryer. That one's like $30 worth of busted dinguses. Give me are you going to wash today? I, is today the day? No, then just calm down, old woman, and let me fix the damn thing and we'll be good. Oh, my Lord. Andy Cowley, good morning. And good morning to everybody I haven't typed hi to. Howdy. Appreciate you being here. Um,
Good
we,
morning.
That's all I'm going to play of that before the
It
copyright police get me.
it didn't work anyway.
Didn't hear it. I didn't
I
think it was going to pick up.
it tried to come through your microphone, and StreamYard's noise reduction got rid of it.
Yeah, I didn't know if that. I didn't have time to set that up. I wanted to put that on a button. That's my plan. But
Keep it simple, stupid.
I also don't want the Dead Prince police coming, the Dead Prince copyright police coming to get me. So, you know,
Well, so Prince, especially, that's why he's the artist formerly known as Prince, because he actually lost the rights to his own name. That was his name, not the name of his product. I mean, it was
right?
also the name of his product, but that was his like given name by his parents, Prince Michael something,
Rogers or Rogerson. I can't remember.
something like that.
Rogers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it wasn't like his name was Steve and he called himself Prince as his artist name. His name was
right.
Prince. And then
Yeah.
the music industry said, nope, you can't use your name anymore without paying us a royalty. And he said, I'm now the artist formerly known as Prince, all in quotes.
Yeah, I remember that with the little symbol thing, sticking it to the man. Way to
Yeah.
go, brother. Couldn't stay away from the drugs apparently, but
Well, I went out to Paisley Park, if you know what that is, because Prince
hmm
was a
I
native of
do.
Minnesota.
Minnesota,
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
And so his recording studio is out there, and his recording studio was actually a movie set as well. Says it was like the only movie set in the upper Midwest because they needed one. And apparently he was, I mean, y'all know this. He was really short, but he also liked to not be short, and so he was in a lot of pain. So that's a lot of where the drugs came
hmm
was to compensate for the pain, which was compensating for the height.
He was. I was never a huge Prince fan, but he's got some great songs, and
Yeah.
he was a hell of a guitar player. He really was. If he wasn't being weird all the time, but
Yeah, Craig
anyway,
is correct. As a retired educator, I can tell you without reservations that just because you set your mind to
exactly.
it does not mean you can do it. Genetic deficiencies exist. This is why I am not Mr. Olympia.
Right? I mean, it's like the plumbing thing, right? The
Yep.
toilet doesn't shut off or doesn't have an authoritative flush, right? I've watched like 26 YouTube videos on this. I know what I should change. No, I'm not. I tried before. I failed spectacularly. Steve and I started talking about this for the show. No, there's just some things I'm calling in somebody who knows what they're doing on. I'm not messing with that at all. And HVAC stuff on the electrical side, ain't worried about it at all. On the witchcraft, chemical, plumbing, magic, cold dingus side, I'm not touching it. So anyway,
John saying steroids could fix my physique. I don't know, John. I went to the gym for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week for 3 years, and this is the majesty that has occurred.
I haven't gone to a gym in many, 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 many years, and I don't care.
And I posted really good numbers, like you could do that. And I'm like, yeah. And like you don't look like you could do that. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I gave
So
up.
we had a good show yesterday, I
Exactly,
think,
Jimmy.
on Coffee and Ham Radios,
Talk
and
about mobiles.
had a great discussion and talking about mobiles, but also talking about some other radio stuff. So that's kind of one thing I wanted to look at this morning, um, and get y'all's opinion on. And I have a good example of one of them, and I don't have much data on the other one. But like an FTX, this is the one we were talking about yesterday. FTX 1F, 1,400 pounds sterling. That is 1,800 freedom dollars for
Jeez.
this
No.
radio.
Hard pass.
And I'm like, this is essentially, I guess. Let me plus this up some. I don't even know if this thing does C4 FM.
It should.
Let's
But you wouldn't want to speculate. You might raise the ire of a certain. Yeah, it does. Right there. First bullet
Yeah,
point.
C4 FM. Okay. So, I mean, what makes this better than the current Yaesu radios that are already out?
Size.
Is this a fairly small package?
Well, I mean, you should know. This is 705 sized. Is the
Okay.
best
Okay.
guess that we have without being allowed to see it in person. Thank you to our FCC overlords.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and so it does look kind of like a a
So I like
weird
the idea.
500.
I like the idea of the screen, but it makes it very awkward to pack. Like the FT818 is actually smaller than this, but because it's vertical, it packs easier. It's just a
Let's
weird, it's a weird format. Like the 705 format looks good in person, but it doesn't pack well.
Yeah, it's a weird shape. I don't see any I don't see any dimensions on this.
I mean, that would look good in a car. It would look good on a desk. It doesn't work for backpacking up a mountain.
Right. Well, and where I was going with this was the breathtaking price. Do we think this is actually worth $1,800 US? Because I'm like, wow. And I'm not a super awesome Yaesu fanboy like Charles is,
Mhm.
but like, what is the current Yaesu? There's the 101D and 101MP. So I assume this is positioned below those, right?
It's QRP,
Okay. So
QRP
this,
portable.
what's the FTD
Their current their
FTDX10?
current portable radio is the FT710 Field.
Okay,
By the
that's
way,
right.
FT stands for field transceiver or something like that. So all of their FT radios are supposed to be field deployable. Like the FT DX101MP is supposed to be a field radio.
This has a cooling fan, which is necessary for comfortable FT8 operation.
No, no, hold on, hold on. I agree with you. It has an optional backpack mounted cooling fan. It doesn't come with the
Okay.
cooling fan in that $1,800 trim.
So my FT8 will be in an uncomfortable place, is what that's telling me. Unless
Yeah,
I.
so watch your heat,
Mm,
which is true for every Yaesu radio.
true.
My the FT817 was disappeared. It was deaded because it overheated and blew finals all the time. So they came out with the FT818, which you still should mind the heat on.
I mean, I'm not. I'm like, man, $1,800. Of course, I thought the 705 was a little pricey too.
So here's where it gets really weird. They're taking the IP, the intellectual property, the
Right.
mental anguish that they put into the 101 MP, the 101, the 10, the 710, the 500, and now the FTX, whatever the name of this thing is right now, FTX1F. So that's,
Yeah.
what is that, five or six radios that I named? I ran out of, I lost track of what finger I
Right.
started on. Um, and then they're also building on the backs of heroes where they've done it for a while. So like they took their code and they refined their code and then they exploited their code and put it on all their different products. So yes, it does, there is development cost involved and there is parts cost involved and there is research cost involved, but things should get better and cheaper. I mean, like Coca-Cola is only, like 3.5 cents per bottle to make because they've refined the formula and the process and the logistics and so on and so on over the years. So the
But
price should go down.
it's mostly water.
Yeah, and so like the majority of the Coca-Cola cost is actually literally shipping the heavy water around the planet. But
Right.
the price of Coca-Cola, probably inflation adjusted, is probably still about on par. This radio, in the quantity that Yaesu is going to sell it over the next 3 to 5 years, at $1,800 is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, God bless them
Yeah.
because they can, but it's probably at that scale, it's probably real cheap to manufacture and probably a huge profit margin in there.
And what is the other one I wanted to look at, and I didn't get a picture pulled up before the show. There it is, the 510DR ASP.
Right. One extra
Yeah,
chip.
yeah. And this
Probably not even an extra chip.
we talked about this guy yesterday too. So, and somebody was telling me in Discord that apparently Yaesu is gonna, if they haven't already, officially can the 500. It's discontinued,
Yeah.
and I don't know how true that is or is not, but so the 500 was, what did we pay for those things at Dayton two
You were
years
saying
ago?
350, something like that?
No, it was more. I was thinking of something else. 650,
650. Wow, that's
six
still a lot.
nineteen, six
That's a
nineteen
lot.
tax, title, and tag.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Um,
So before we go too far down this path, we're not picking on Yaesu specifically. I mean, we could say the exact same thing about the
yes,
ICOM because the 7100, the 900 series, which is the one that predates the 7300, they all use that same software. The 7300 was a color screen add-on to the
right,
existing software base with a couple of extra features and so on. Like it's all the same, SSDD, same stuff, different brand.
right. And you look at this guy, which is the replacement, the upgrade, whatever. And I mean, it looks like a 500.
Hmm.
It looks almost exactly like the 500, as near as I can tell. I'd have to go walk out to my truck to look at my 500, but
It's the exact same thing. They just changed the chipset, and this has got an FPGA in it. So I don't know if they added the chip or if they just put it into the firmware of the chip.
hmm. But I mean, my point with this one, and Steve's right, we're not picking on Yesu. These are just two examples that stuck in my head yesterday because this is, in my opinion, getting up into Kenwood money here. I mean, wow, that's,
Is Kenwood any better than Yaesu?
I don't think so. I think the perception is Kenwood is the, you know,
Because
fancy
everybody
pants.
everybody talks about Motorola being the best of the best of the best, or
Motorola,
Harris.
Motorola Harris are public safety, more or less. That's mostly where their business is.
A lot of theirs is ruggedized though,
It
which is
is.
a whole different story.
I mean, my fire radio could take a bullet easily. There's no doubt it would stop a probably level 4. I'm just saying. But I don't, and Kenwood is not super into AM radio. They don't have a lot of products. But I think the perception, at least, is that Kenwood is the Rolls Royce of amateur radio stuff, and they certainly price it like they do, because the D75 is what, $800 for an HT. I mean, wow.
Yep.
Andy Cowley says Kenwoods are the best, so and that's what we used in the fire department as well, was Kenwood. As a matter of fact, we didn't have motos here; we had Kenwoods.
They're starting to call that Vero radio that I like so much. They're starting to call it the Chinwood.
The
Read into that what
Chinwood,
you will. I didn't come up with
right?
the name.
You racist.
Right.
Um, So, I mean, what features does this have that the 500 doesn't have?
It's just the ASP stuff.
Yeah, and like you said yesterday, which is true, it's audio signal processing, which is not anything new
Yeah.
and exciting. And do you think that you could tell the difference in a moving vehicle that this had?
Well, so I can tell the difference with the AESS, with the two speaker setup. There is, like all of a sudden ham radios in stereo now, and I've got,
Right.
dual audio fields coming from the front and rear of my
But
vehicle.
that could be
I can get that.
the spatial thing making it perceived better because
Yeah.
you hear it, it's
Yep.
filling in some of the gaps kind of thing.
Yep. They are talking about upgrading the memory functions on this, but there's a problem with ham radio in general when it comes to programmable memories in 2 meter rigs, especially if you are a distance driver. If you just program it once and your repeaters never change in your area, or
Right.
they change once every 7 years, you've got plenty. But I travel all the time, and it's actually more of a burden to change repeater groups, only to find out that the local repeater people are unfriendly, that it's just not worth even bothering with. There
Right.
should be some way to look at repeater book on my phone or some app on my phone and go, this is my area, upload my radio for
Oh,
more
no.
than just one radio.
Hillbilly Ham said the 500 will get a firmware up bump too.
Yeah, it should. Because again, it's the same exact thing except for that one feature difference. So why not copy that to all of the radios that
Right.
look the same?
And so, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, because you were just talking about the repeaters. Great point. So, the Kenwoods do that, I think. I had a D74. I don't remember because I don't change repeaters.
Yeah. The
Um,
705 has a feature that does it, but it's still not user friendly enough, especially since it's got Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built into it.
yeah, no, Hamstick, no, we're not. I'm not talking about an R finder. That's overpriced hunk of smoke and mirrors.
If I remember if I remember properly, Eric doesn't like the R Finder either.
I think he had one. So when
Yeah.
he
He
when
says,
he
yeah.
when he poops on it, he poops with authority.
I mean,
Um,
I do too.
I do too. The D74, I'm almost positive, and if any of you guys have a 74 or 75 and I'm wrong, correct me. But I believe there's a feature to auto change repeaters kind of thing as you drive. I think you can tie it to the GPS and it'll kind of update your repeater list as you go. And if they don't have it, they bloody well should have because my freaking scanner has it. I have an SDS 100 HT size scanner and it will change on the roll. Um, you know, I have to have the database in there, but I mean, it's not like I have a huge database I have to keep up with. My longest trip is going to Dayton, so that's 4 states and only the places along I-65 mostly.
Yeah. Like have your main repeater bank programmed in for your home area, and then have bank two automatically detect as
Yeah,
you're driving in and out of range. I mean,
yeah,
it's 2025. Really?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I know the scanner does it, and I'm almost positive the 7475 does it from Kenwood. Craig said the 5100 will. Now, Craig, does it do it automatically, or do you have to go in the menu and tell it to load?
If
Because
it works the same way the 705 does, you have to update the database on the SD card, plug it into the radio, and then hit the nearby repeater function, which is different than your memories.
Andy said you can do it. I wasn't sure about the icon.
You have to have them
I
already programmed in.
He said you can auto change. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
you load a database, right?
yeah. So I'll have to try that.
Like in my example, going to Dayton. So I'm going to go all the way
Yeah.
through Alabama, and then Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, on a narrow path. So it's load 4 states, and I'm golden. And then the GPS says, okay, Jim is
Yeah. I,
by this one.
Elsie, I bet there's a way. Mike did a video on doing the analog repeaters, and it's how you select the database to load the SD card. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just hopeful. And so there's a really good example of what I was talking about earlier. The 5100, the 7100, and the 705 all have this nearby repeater function if they've got their
That's
GPS
it.
enabled.
Yeah.
So I bet the 9700 does it also.
Yes, because I frequently want to put the 9700 on my dashboard.
Right. It frequently moves states. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, once you've got the feature programmed, it's, copy paste to the next model
Right.
and move on.
Right. And Tim, I don't disagree with you. Don't worry about it. Stay on 5.2 and move on. That's yeah. I don't
Well, I mean, that's another benefit of APRS. There are repeaters that beacon APRS that say that they're a repeater, and it should
mhm.
pop up saying you're in range of this repeater because you just heard an APRS packet from that repeater. Would you like to program it into your radio in QSY? Click. Hey, everybody, I'm on the new repeater I just came in range of. How y'all doing? This is KM9G. I don't know why I went Southern on that.
It's like, what the hell was that?
I do it every so often.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
see, there you go. Same
yeah,
firmware, copy paste.
yeah. And
So,
when we're talking about the database, I think the only thing that we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you preload the database before you go anywhere.
yeah.
So you're going to get the database from the website, stick it on the SD card, load it in the radio, and
But this is the
Bob's
whole
your uncle.
ecosystem problem. Like I love going into repeater book. Repeater last updated 2012.
Yeah,
The entry
yeah,
in repeater book, and then you don't know whether. I mean, like it doesn't have to be updated if nothing changed. But when was the last time it was accessed? I mean, like,
right.
and I'm not faulting anybody because I understand that it takes work and effort. So don't get me wrong. But like, this is a bigger, much bigger rant. We're not attracting youth to the hobby. Youth has the energy and the desire to do the programming for mobile phones. This is why all the websites look like they were made on GeoCities because they were. And
Mm-hmm.
all of those people have
Yeah,
now SK'd out of the hobby or SK'd out of the desire to program, a website in 2025. I totally get it. Eric's
right.
agreeing with me. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And as a new ham, boy, it's just so confusing to come in and I discovered the because rfinder.net/repeaters or something has a repeater book function, a listing of repeaters, and you can sort it by digital mode or 2 meter or 70 centimeter, 1.2 gig, whatever, just like repeater book. So I'm looking in the Montgomery area and it's different sets of data. There's stuff in the RFinder database, not the goofy phone thing, their database on their website, that doesn't match with repeater book and vice versa. So it's really confusing. And you're right, a lot of that stuff was old and OBE, right? Just gone, or they changed frequency or whatever. So repeater book export doesn't work for me. The file is empty.
Hmm.
Huh, I don't know. I haven't exported from repeater book in a
Yeah,
while,
but
so
repeater book is it. It takes a village. Like the people who own the repeaters need to maintain and update their repeaters. They need to maintain and update their
yeah,
database entries. Repeater book needs to maintain and update the software. The software needs to integrate with the radios. The radio manufacturers need to come up with a standard for, or close enough to a standard for importing. Like what was it, AutoCAD with the DXF, which is the file you use to trade files between CAD programs. Their DWG, their drawing file, was proprietary. Their DXF was their drawing exchange format or data exchange format or something that would then go
yeah.
to the competitor, and strip it down to a bare minimum, like pay more for AutoCAD because you really need it to get all the extra stuff that you put in this drawing, but this will get it, like a printable copy that you can take to your blueprinter or whatever.
And as a matter of fact, I think I don't, is repeater book a subscription? I don't think it is.
I don't remember. I think there is a subscription, and then I don't know if the app will charge because I did it so long ago. Because that's the thing with, like, the Android Play Store. Once you buy it,
I don't
6 years
stuff
ago,
off
you
there. Oh, I
well,
no, I'm talking about the website. Um,
yeah.
I don't use a whole lot of apps on my phone, and I don't subscribe to almost nothing on the phone because of the Apple tax. But um, like our Finder's repeater database, there's an annual subscription,
Yeah.
and I don't know if repeater book is. And that's a decision to make too. I mean, it's not much. I mean, 20, $30 a year,
Hmm.
but it's like if this data is going to be just as old and worn out as the other stuff, I'm not going to pay for it anymore.
Right, right. So that's where the like the KV4P Android radio comes into play, and it's not Android only. You know, he only has enough time to do enough stuff. So, he's made it open source and available. So hopefully somebody will take that and run with it. And yeah, it's a 1 watt radio, but it's only a 1 watt radio because he's probably a software developer and not a hardware engineer.
Right.
And he's doing the best that he can. So like I'm trying to lift him up, not knock him down.
Right.
Um,
I
so
can't do it.
somebody can take that like Smitty Halibut did. Somebody can take that and take it to the next level, and somebody can take Smitty's radio and add a power amplifier if he didn't. We've got to talk about the differences on the Smitty version versus the
Yeah.
KV4P version. And then like this can organically grow. I mean, like a radio that you get that's naked and then you add firmware to it. I mean, imagine like I want to program in a local repeater and it just either A, imports it from repeater book directly because it's connected to a phone that has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, internet,
Right.
etc. Or B, it says, what is your repeater's input frequency? What is the offset? What is the name? You're now programmed. Would you like me to test it? And then you
Mm.
hear, this is the KV4P repeater, you know?
That would be in like 2097, maybe.
Oh, you are so optimistic,
I'm
Jim.
very optimistic. Always looking for the bright side. Maybe 2197. Yeah, I mean, we're still. I'm going to start ranting. Those old ass websites and the interface on
Start
almost
ranting.
every piece of ham software that we use, has not
Yeah.
changed since. And okay, tiny rant, just a little rant. Ham
We're
Radio
at 30 minutes
Deluxe.
of ranting, by the way.
Ham Radio Deluxe. Flagship radio control all-in-one program, and it does a lot of super cool stuff. A lot of stuff. It has a logging function that interacts with QRZ, Logbook of the World, several others I don't remember. It has satellite functionality, so it'll load in the Kepler data so you can track birds with it. It will change your radio to make the Doppler shift happen automatically. You say, I want to talk to AO50, it'll start doing the thing to, like I have a 9700, so it'll change the radio. It does a lot of stuff. It has a rotator function. It has a digital component for like 10,000 ancient digital modes, RIDI and PSK 31 and
Hmm.
whatever. It does a ton of stuff, and it's a great program, and it will talk to a shit ton of radios. But the interface on that thing just screams, I got my Windows 98 computer today, and I want to
Hmm.
make this interface look so modern. The interface,
Yeah.
I've been a ham 5 years. They've had, I don't know how many updates, and it looks the same today as it did 5 years ago, as near as I can tell.
Well, so here's one of the interesting
It's a
things
great
about it.
program. It's just,
Yeah. There's the American philosophy, and then there's the Far Eastern philosophy. Like I'm talking out of school here, but it's, it's church, so we can do that.
amen.
Um, the the American philosophy is instant gratification. I tried to learn how to play guitar when I was in high school, and my guitar instructor was a classical blues guitarist, which means I learned the E blues scale and not the G scale like everybody else is using on the planet. And I love jazz, don't get me wrong. But at the end of a year's worth of lessons, I couldn't play anything that any of my friends knew. So there was no gratification, let alone instant gratification. I mean, that was a year's worth of work. If he would have taught me the four chords, I could have played every song in the American catalog. And this is what game makers on cell phones have figured out. Like you open the game and it immediately starts you playing and you win your first three rounds, and that's actually the tutorial of how to play the game. And so now
Mm,
you're, you know,
hmm
you're in the game, you know how it works, and they progressively add new stuff. So like HRD could start off with just a real quick logging program like uh, Hammers is, which is real simple, real basic, and I love
I,
it because it's real
I,
simple, real basic.
as a first time POTA guy back at Huntsville,
Hmm.
I never used hammers before. I figured out how to use that thing in like 2 minutes. The interface
Hmm.
was perfect, and
Yeah.
I'm just logging away.
And
Yeah.
after about, six POTA activations, it should say like, "Hey, you want to try satellites? How you doing?"
How
And
you
like, no,
doing?
not right now. And then it'll come back, like, no big deal. Keep on POTA on, brother. You know, like
I'll
just that's the
go
problem with
ahead.
HRD. There's just too much stuff that's all there. Like just kind of give us a little,
Well,
like walk us through.
I don't know that I agree with there's too much stuff. It's just,
Not too much, but like all at once, overwhelming.
yeah.
You're
And
not going to start as a tech and go into satellites with rotators and multi-band Yagis and
right. I mean, I think it's, yeah. And so, with your logic, would you say that HRD should be a modular buy? I should be able to buy the base HRD without the rotator function, without the satellite
I don't
tracker.
mind that. I don't mind that at all.
Uh,
Like $5 for logging software, and then
yeah.
an extra
Yeah.
$5 for satellite, and then an extra $5 for rotator, and then an extra five. Like, I got no problem. By the time you're done, HRD is now like $3,000, and you've happily paid for it because you've slowly paced yourself into the intelligence, the ability, the equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in HRD, and it's overwhelming. Um, again, I still
that's what I was
think
getting at.
it's,
It's overwhelming. It's a good
yeah.
program, but it's
Yeah.
overwhelming. And I use CQR log for Linux, and it's a good program, but it's overwhelming. And it's written in
Really.
Pascal, by the way, Jim, so you can
Oh,
fix it.
I can fix it. We can fix this. It's Linux. I know this. Um, yeah, that's my complaint with HRD. It's just the UI. And Tim Grayman said something about he's waiting. I'm ignoring your POTA comment. I was in the park. Shut up. But he made a salient comment a minute ago about he's
He
been waiting
did.
for the UI interface to change on HRD for 4 years. And yeah, Tim, I think I've seen emails or heard something through the grapevine that
Wavelog.
they've got a
Okay.
big interface update coming out, and I ain't seen it. And I think I had HRD from the first day I got my license or the second day. I don't know. But
So here's a real quick problem. Eric just says, check out Wavelog. You know what I just did, Eric? I just opened up my 9,000th browser tab. It's
hmm,
now looking for Wavelog, and it will sit there for another 3 years.
Wavelog runs as a web server in a Docker container. Hank said he's out on HRD. Yeah, Hank, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
use
I'm
it.
paying the maintenance fee anymore because version 6.1247592 or whatever the hell it is I've got does the three things I even use it for anymore. I honestly, I don't mean to sound flex-ish, but with the flex, I don't need HRD for anything. So
Right.
with a smart plug and a flex radio, I'm good. I used the Amazon device in the other room. Heard something. I used HRD
She heard everything.
to hook to the 7300 initially, and then I had the Amazon device turn on the power supply through a smart plug because I could do that remotely. So it would turn on the power supply, then I'd fire up HRD on the computer, which would kick on the 7300 over USB, and I could play radio from work or wherever. So, and at the time, 5 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of other interface programs for the 7300 because now you've got what, WF View
Yeah.
and Win for ICOM
And SDR control
and SDR well, yeah, on a Mac, yeah.
and
So,
regular cat control.
yeah, to do a lot of that stuff. And I think maybe FL Digi FL Rig would have performed that same function, but I didn't know about them back then. So
Yeah.
Andy's talking about Station Master. I have never looked at that.
Yeah, it's actually relatively new, I think.
Okay. And there used to be a free version of HRD too, Tim. I don't, because I've heard people talking about it or referring to it. I never had it. I had the pay version, but
Yeah. And so like I'm not harshing on anybody. My job in life right now is to
right,
make ham radio YouTube content to try and, excite people into getting in the hobby and going out and playing stuff and kind of remove the OM stigma of that's a compromised antenna. Well, yeah, they all are.
right,
So that's my job and my mission and my tool set, my toolbox. And my toolbox is not software development.
right.
But
Yeah,
we
and
are
I'm
making a difference. So Jim was talking about Redivis the other day. Talk about that. What was it? The HD2?
the HD2.
Yeah.
So I have never worked with Redivis before. I did the video on the HD2, I don't know, last year sometime, 6 months ago, whenever. And I bought the radio. Everybody was talking about it. I saw some of the bigger channels had gotten one or two. So I bought it to play with it and test it. And if I thought it was a decent enough radio, I probably would have kept it. And so it was a non-positive outcome. That's how we called it in the fire department. It was a non-positive outcome on my experience with the HD2, and I was very adamant about my non-positive outcome on that radio and showed this. And so fast forward to recently when Redivis has reached out to me via a friend of ours and said, hey, we watch your stuff and we think you're doing a great job, which so far is marketing from most radio companies. They all say that. I guarantee you that those lines are the ones that Steve gets and Ape gets and Chuck gets.
You're very wonderful. We enjoy your content. Insert name
Yes.
here. We've
Insert
seen
name
all of
here.
your videos on insert subject here.
Right. And we'd like to know if you'd like to evaluate our
Insert
lighted
product here.
radio controlled mirror.
Right.
Yeah, no. Do you ever see those on my channel? Anyway, so this
Bed
lady,
sheets.
yeah, our
You don't want to see
wireless
me in bed. I mean,
wireless
maybe some of you
shielding.
do. That's okay.
No, negative. I
Jim's seen
can't
me
get
in bed.
I can't get that drunk, son. So she reached out. She was really nice, and the opening, the intro marketing thing, and then she said, "We remember your HD2 video from last year, and we
Where you
took note of.
poo-pooed all over it.
And while it wasn't a great look for our company, we did take note of that, and then we released the H HA1
HA1UV, yeah.
UV, which addressed those problems. So I was like, holy crap, that's awesome.
So they are listening.
They do listen, apparently. At least Redivis does. Now, some of the other ones I don't know about, but
So that's the thing. So over the years, I've developed the channel, I've developed the outlet, I've developed the trust, I've developed the clout, if you will. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just like this is what you do as an individual. You set about doing something and you try to do the best job that you can, and that's where I'm at right now. And there's compromises in that. Like there's so much ham radio stuff to review and share and play with, and I don't have enough hours in the day. But what I do have is I've got connections to these vendors, and I put out a video that says, here's a thing, here's some deficiencies, here's some good points, and then you guys provide feedback to me, and then I channel that back to the vendor, and the vendor makes a better product. So there's value in that.
I
We
say
still don't know.
Redivis. I think
They
ape is a Retivis.
So I think I'd have to go back and watch the live stream again, but Ape and Simon Hamjazz and I did a live stream with Redivis, and I swear in their 2,000 minute long intro that they repeated 90 billion times, they said Reetvis, which is even worse.
Retvis.
Reetvis. And everybody in the chat's like, we've all been saying that wrong.
Well, if you don't speak English as your native language and you get that whole silent E thing, that would
Yeah.
make sense. Retvis. Hmm.
Well, that's their name for their company in their language. So we're not speaking their language.
Okay. Well, Retvis,
Yeah, John.
Retivis, Redivis. You know.
So
So
the
anyway,
backstory, real quick, the
go,
backstory on that
yeah,
live stream is there.
that was
The time that
hilarious.
we did it was the time that everybody showed up to work in their office, and everything was great until all the employees showed up and got on the net and started using their computers to do their job, and their connection went zero. And the three of us are like, back to you. And she's like, I'm not here. And we had no way of knowing because she didn't have enough bandwidth to tell us that she wasn't even there.
Oh
They
wow.
did a good job for all of the circumstances involved.
Well, I thought those girls were so nervous. I mean, they were like a cat at the AKC convention. They came off super nervous and awkward. But
The American Kennel Club.
yeah. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to starting a relationship with Retivis, and seeing where it goes. I thought that was a good email, and I was kind of proud of him. So
Yeah,
we'll see. And there's a lot of radios out there, and not all of them are going to be good. Not all of them are going to be bad.
yeah.
And
Honestly,
we tend to bone on Chinese radios
well,
really
because they're
hard
so
sometimes,
plentiful and they're affordable. But China
right?
listens where the other radio manufacturers, the big three,
Japanese,
I wasn't going to say it, do
I'll
not
say it.
listen at all. Not only do they not listen, they actively reject feedback.
Well, and it's not like they are without sin either. Low,
Correct.
I will bone Yesu on this one sideways. The FTM 500, and I probably said this before. I'm sure I have. DTMF was not working when the radio was released,
No
and there
code
was
plug
no code plug available, no CPS software, nothing except the radio from Yesu. I
for six
literally
hundred
had to
dollars.
for $600. I literally
Yeah,
had to at the hotel at Dayton discovered that RT Systems already had CPS available for the 500. I bought that, downloaded it, and thankfully I didn't need a special cable because you can SD card program that radio. So, but Yaesu had nothing, and I'm like, that was a huge whiff. And the other whiff was, let's see, the DTMF didn't work, and then there was something. Oh, the volume control. Whatever you had one VFO set on, I think the other VFO was the same volume. So I couldn't turn down the volume on a VFO if I remember right.
and
So
on a
if
dual
I
watch radio, that's pretty bad. You have to QSY on VFOB in order to hear VFOA.
yes,
And I get it, but like there should be a real quick like, shut up, I'm talking to this guy.
and there's some weird design decisions in the 500 as well. For one, the giant knob. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Some people hate it. I don't care,
It'd be
but
great for SSB.
right, right. Um, the other thing that was, what was I gonna, that they do something that's strange. Oh yeah, so you can't change VFOB separately. To change
Right.
VFOB,
It,
you have to hit the flip button, make BA, change it, and
yeah.
then flip it back.
So I was
So
playing with your radio in the truck, and you're absolutely correct from a I've used radios for the last 30 years, and I've used hundreds of radios in the last 30 years perspective. That VFOA, VFOB thing does not work. However, I'm going to take Yezu's side on this, so like don't have a heart attack, Jim, because we're live. It's not a VFOA, VFOB radio.
yeah, I know.
They
Kruk
they
gave me
switched the
that.
paradigm out from underneath of you And of course, we don't read manuals. We just open the box, plug it in, and start playing. And
I
you
think it
try to
came with one.
oh, I just dropped something. Try to apply existing knowledge, and you run afoul of that because it's not that kind of radio.
Yeah, that you said paradigm, and that's a true statement. It was a paradigm shift a little bit in some
Yeah,
ways,
and I
but
like the new paradigm, but like it's unexpected.
it's way unexpected. And so I mean, nobody's radio is perfect, and honestly, I don't think any of us, any of the ham YouTubers, have ever tested. Maybe Ape has tested a mobile radio to see how good or bad it is on a spectrum analyzer. And it's something we should probably do. But honestly, if I spend $500, $600 on a mobile radio, I really don't want to put it on the spectrum analyzer because I don't want to ask questions that I don't want to
Yeah.
hear the answer to.
What is that? Confirmation bias? Is that what they call that? I
Yeah.
paid this much money for this radio, so therefore it is good, whether it is or not.
Well, no, I just don't want to know. just I'm not saying it is good or it is not. It's like, nah, I'm not going to ask the question because I don't necessarily want to know the answer to that one.
Yeah, well, here's something interesting. Radios actually operate differently through the filters at different power levels. So technically, you
Right.
should check it at all of its power levels to
Right.
see if it works the same way at all the power levels.
And Ken, I have heard this before, and I think that would be a great idea,
Yeah.
is a modular kind of setup, which goes back to what we were talking about with HRD. If you could, and I guess they're doing that. If you buy a Yaesu desktop radio, you ain't going to get a free LAN connection with it. Sounds like I'm really picking on Yaesu today, and I guess I kind of am a little bit, but
Well, this is why I think the IBM PC took off the way that it did. The Commodore
yes,
had one expansion slot, and the PC had like eight or something. I don't
yeah,
have eight fingers unless I'm
six,
AI.
five at least. I don't know.
It had a lot, and one of them was an
Yeah,
odd slot. But you had the ability to expand it, and they invited third-party updates and upgrades. And radios are not designed that way
no,
to a certain extent. I mean, yeah, we can do it, but it should be like I should be able to make a product that works with three different radio manufacturers' radios, like the crystal filters from
yeah,
Collins from back in the day.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know. It would be great if they do. I don't see the big three Japanese radio companies ever working together at that kind of level.
Yeah.
And I suspect part of the things, and we bitch about USB-C and we bitch about HDMI out and all that kind of stuff on a regular basis. But I think the root cause of a lot of it is our market in amateur radio is not the market of public safety radios. It is not the market of aviation radios because I don't know that Yaesu does aviation radios, but I'm pretty sure ICOM does, or marine radios. And I'm sure they all three do marine radios. But Kenwood, I know personally, is huge in public safety radios. Um, and when you look at the total market of hams, I mean, what's the U.S. ham market? How many of us are there?
Three. All of us are
600,
here on stream,
right?
86.
600,000 total, maybe alive still, breathing without assistance. So I mean, there's a limited base they're going to sell to. And I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't run ICOM, Kenwood, or Yaesu, but it's like I think they look at it as a number thing, and it's like, oh, we'll keep reusing our DVI
Yeah,
connector
yeah.
interface that we've had for the last 30 years and just move
There's a
on.
chicken and egg thing that goes on with that.
It
Yeah, like
is.
if there aren't any products, then there aren't any customers. If there aren't any customers, then there aren't any products. Well, which one of those two is true? Both.
Yeah. And you got to think, would they make more money if they actually upgraded these radios? Because I look at that 510 versus the 500. That ain't. That's not revolutionary. That's evolutionary at best.
Yeah.
It's evolutionary with a lame feature that, okay,
If that truly is on the FPGA and not a separate chip, then they missed the boat hard on that one. I don't know whether it is or not. I'd have to have two of them side by side, and I ain't got $1,500 to play with that.
right.
But open it up, and if it's on the FPGA, that should have been a firmware update and would have made all the 500 customers happy because I'm sure the people that bought the 500 yesterday are really pissed that the 510's coming out.
Right. Paul,
Thank
thank
you.
you for the $2 super chat, my friend. That's right. Y'all pass the
Yeah.
collection plate around. Take up a love offering for Brother Steve and Brother Jim.
And go check out Paul's channel, The Grouch in NH.
Yep.
I mistakenly maligned his character by saying he was from CT the other day.
I think New Hampshire is live free or die, and Connecticut is pass the latte. I don't know what the state motto of Connecticut is.
I don't know. I do like the live free or die thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I don't think the change was that big on that radio. There's a huge price increase. I mean, if you look at it as a percentage of what I paid for the 500 was 619, and this one is 749. So that's, I don't know, 12, 15%
Aloysius is
price
right. Yeah.
increase. And Aloysius, I think somebody was talking about those radios are gone or discontinued.
Or
I'm not
going. Yeah.
sure.
But I mean, look at this. Like the iPhone was created and there was no need for the iPhone at all, period. You had a phone, it worked, it did the phone thing.
They
And
made
they
phone
came out with
calls.
this, yeah, like, hey, that's all I expect out of my phone. I wanted to make calls, I want to talk to somebody. And now we have the iPhone that's a camera, a health monitor, a video game device, a television platform, etc.
It's
Like,
it's the internet in your pocket.
yeah.
I think the Steve said that.
Yeah, and then he doubled down and he made the iPad. And here's another, product without a need at all. Why can't
Yeah.
we do that in ham radio? This is why ham radio is becoming largely irrelevant. Like yet another 2 meter HT that has no new features compared to all the other 2 meter HTs.
That Kurt Collins, thank you for the $2 super
Thank
chat.
you, Kurt.
Appreciate it. We are bringing the love and the light of Our Lady of Unbridled RF power here. Yeah, I mean there's yeah, they just turn them out. I mean Baofeng, I'm going to pick on Baofeng. Okay, now it's my turn to pick on Chinese radios. How many models of Baofeng are there?
One, but they all have different clothing.
Yeah, I mean there's the 100-watt Baofeng, the 50-watt Baofeng, the 5-watt Baofeng, the 10-watt Baofeng. I mean, I don't even know. I'm not even going to get into the clones, right? But truly real Baofangs, and it's the same radio. And Steve's right. I mean, it's almost identical crap under
They
the
just changed
hood,
the power rating. They didn't change the radio to have more power. They just changed the rating in the book.
right? And that's, um, I guess the word I'm looking for is that's the epidemic of HTs a lot. Is they just keep pushing out new models and getting. And I feel bad. I don't want to. I'm not crapping on anybody who buys a Baofeng as their first radio. I'm not. I have a couple,
No, I
5
love
of
them.
them, and it's an awesome gateway starter radio for somebody on a budget. You spent $15 to take the test. You dropped 35 to get your license. Your wife has already given you stank eye because she couldn't buy new shoes because you blew $70 on your ham stuff. Who are you going to talk to, Donnie? Mars?
Yes.
And so now you can squeeze out maybe 35, 40 more bucks before she absolutely, you're sleeping on the couch, for
Playing
the
with your
next
radios,
six
talking to
months.
your friends.
Yeah, that's right. You can go play with your radios, Polly. I'm going to bed.
Okay, bye.
So, right. Thank God. Go away.
So finally, I get some peace in this house.
It's a piece of quiet. And
PEACE.
Gray Man, no, once given a Baofeng can never be returned. It's
You
it's
can
writ
only you can
large.
only ham it forward. Yes.
That's right. You can ham it forward to an acolyte, but yeah. So I mean, I think Baofengs serve a purpose, and then you just get a lot of yes. There's some radio companies that just churn out model after model after model, and it's the same exact kind of thing where there's no fundamental difference between this one and that one. I think in second tier HT market, the VGC, I say second tier as in not ICOM, Kenwood, or Yaesu. The VGC is a great radio. If you add a DMR into it, it might be even better with the features it has. It's a feature forward radio,
It wouldn't have been hard to drop the ambient encoder chip in there.
right?
What is the cost of that chip at scale? I have no idea. $1?
Yeah, I mean it can't be much. I don't know.
And not even implement it. Just stick it in there. Don't talk about it. Say nothing. and
Mm-hmm.
then in a year release the $5 DMR upgrade or the $5 D-Star upgrade or the $5 C4 FM upgrade.
Right.
And then all of a sudden that radio comes back into favor and they sell another 100,000 of them.
Right. And LC makes a good comment here. There's pull demand and push demand. You want to inspire demand. The problem is we, the hams, because we will buy anything new and shiny. Yeah.
Yeah, we buy the crap that they make.
And unfortunately, as a ham YouTuber, to be somewhat relevant in what I'm trying to do and share this hobby, I kind of got to look at a lot of these things. And it is what it is. I think the VGC or BTEC UV Pro, whichever one floats your boat, it's the same radio, added a great feature set. And it's well worth an everyday carry radio. And again,
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
downside
it
I'd say in
was.
that radio is that it doesn't have DMR in it. And, you know, for them to buy 10,000 Ambi chips and put them in a batch of radios would have cost them probably less than $1 a piece
Well, I
extra.
mean
I don't know.
the Vero radio with its built-in Bluetooth. I mean, you wouldn't even need a hotspot. It could just Bluetooth. I mean, wow, yeah, there's potential. If it had an ESP32 chip in it, it could Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and Wi-Fi. And
And those are like
2025.
$3.
2025. Why the hell am I not able to program this radio with Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
That's exactly right. And Bluetooth is fine for programming a radio. It doesn't really matter, but
my car has Wi-Fi.
right. My hotspot is my truck. My truck is my hotspot. The spice is the worm.
Yes, the spice must
Hacks
flow.
M17. Bless their hearts. I
They're
mean,
doing the Lord's work.
they are. I just I can't get behind it from a practical standpoint. Number
So if they
one,
had made an HT that was ready to go, market ready, would that
yeah.
change your mind?
Well, there is one ish from Connect
No, I mean a real
Systems.
HT.
Yeah, maybe. But again, it's like P25. I have two P25 market ready radios. There's like at least 6 people on there during the day, and M17 is the same kind of thing. I mean, it's great that they developed their own voice protocol, but it's like a lot of the features that we talked about with mobile radios. Can you tell the difference? Does M17 make you a more better ham? Does it
Makes you better
sound
looking.
that much better than D-Star, Fusion, or DMR? And I know a bunch of you are going to say, yes, it does. It sounds fabulous. Not in my experience. It was a crap fest. Now, that is not the protocol. That is the hardware I was using, that M17 board and interfacing it with the only
Yeah, the
radio I had that
module
I could
17.
interface it with. But at the end of the day, there's no commercial support for it. From the hacker side community of the hams, bless your hearts, go with God. But I mean, it's always going to be very, very nichey in a niche hobby until it gets commercial support. And you're not going to get any commercial support from ICOM, Yaesu, or Kenwood out of it. They got no reason to add that in. And because of licensing and lawyers, there will never be one radio to rule them all. The ultimate HT would be D-Star, Fusion, DMR, P25, M17. It'd cost $3,000, but it'd be awesome.
Remember when you would compete by making a better product, and now you compete by paying a
A
politician,
licensing fee? Yeah.
paying a politician to remove competition from the market? My product isn't better. There just isn't any competition because I forced them out.
I
Chicken tax.
yeah. I hope the M17 stuff does catch on. But at the end of the day, can you tell the difference? And Connect Systems is selling something, and I think it's like a $300 HT that does M17. And there's some support for M17. I believe Pi-Star supports it, and so does WPSD. So you can hotspot M17. I don't know about OpenSpot, but the Raspberry Pi software stuff does support M17. I just don't know that it's ever going to catch
Hmm. I think
on a
Jonathan has that HT.
on a large scale. Which one? The Connect systems?
Whichever one you were talking about.
Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan. Jonathan is a fairly new ham, and he's got gear acquisition syndrome.
He might buy more stuff on stream than Jim does.
I think he does. Because if we talk about it, Jonathan's also texting me later after the show going, damn it, I bought this because you mentioned it. You guys are costing me money. No, son, you costing you money, but go. I'm living vicariously through Jonathan sometimes.
I think Dave is right here.
Dave, thank you for the $2 super chat.
And the only thing
That would be cool.
Vero's missing this because they don't have SSB.
Right.
They have everything else that he mentions. And the N7600 that's coming out looks sweet.
I am kind of excited about that.
Yeah,
See
I
what
can't
they've
wait.
done with it.
You look on their website, it's $9,999 because it's just a placeholder. It's not actually
Right.
10 grand.
How much this cost? Oh, 10,000. Move on. Yeah. So let's see. I was trying to see, that would be interesting, Steve Jones. Yes, if you could get Sony in there. I don't know that Sony's ever made radio stuff. I'm not really sure. Maybe back in the early
They make
days.
consumer electronics. They make receivers that are really good.
Yes, and make TVs that are really good. Or Samsung or
LG or
LG. That was the one I was trying to think of.
Panasonic. So Ken's got the 7500. 7500 is a good radio. You can do all the firmware update stuff that we've been doing on the N76. You can do that. You can get your Bluetooth KISS TNC and all that jazz. The 7600 changes the shape of the body of the radio ever so slightly. It's a difference that makes no difference. But it has the attached microphone has a fancy display inside of the microphone. And TC Fitz, thank you. Happy Sunday to you too, brother.
TC Fitz, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm scrolling back. There were some good comments. Yes, the 2000 had some modules. It had, you could get a 1.2 module for it, 1.2 gigahertz, and a voice recording unit module for it. And there may have been a couple others.
There are some that are modular, but I'm guessing that they don't open the standard because like you don't see many third-party updates for the TS2000, do you?
No. No, and the TS2000 is out of production, I'm sure. There's stuff on eBay, but it's all official Kenwood stuff as far as I remember seeing when I had mine. I sold mine to Jonathan. TC, thank you again for and happy Sunday to you. Thank you for the super chat. Yes, Paul, there will be coffee. Well, there's already coffee because Father Jim does not get up without coffee in the morning. Steve, what kind of coffee have you got there?
This is the morning net coffee that you can get from Coffee and Ham Radios at hamradios.coffee. Perfect for a morning like this. A nice mellow morning where we'd like to reflect and discuss without anger or ire.
Right.
Oh, we got a new member too.
Jason, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Hef.
We're going to
see you at Dayton, brother.
Speaking of new members, also, guess what is coming up Wednesday?
Wednesday
is the Coffee and Ham Radio Zoom meeting. So if you're a member of this channel, MOAR, or T.O.'s channel, or Ape's channel, or Chuck's channel, you are invited and you'll get notice that we have the Coffee and Ham Radio Zoom on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I'm going to spend the next 3 months remembering to say daylight time when I mention time zones.
Oh, time zones. Being in Arizona is like the weirdest place for time zones because I think I might be in the weird one spot in Arizona where they do observe daylight wasting time.
See, I thought the whole state was...
No.
I was stationed at Luke in Phoenix, and I don't remember that we ever changed time the 2 years I was there.
So, yeah, the entire state of Arizona gave the big finger to the United States and said, we're not changing time zones. And then this one little nation inside of Arizona said, We are changing time zones. Screw you, Arizona, for screwing the U.S.
Right. I and hacks, yes, if it was a modular install, if you could get a modular radio where you could buy that's probably more the holy grail. I've always said the holy grail would be a radio with the three big digital modes in it, but an open interface, like Steve was talking about with the way the PC exploded. There were things before the PC. The S100 bus was probably
hmm
the closest precursor to the
And what a
PC.
name! It had 100 pins, so we'll call it the S100.
Yeah, that was an engineer that named that. That was not a marketing guy. And it was it was like a combination of Unix Lite and prehistoric DOS. It had some Unix flavor, but it also had some DOS flavor. Notice I said Unix, not Linux. But
Hey, Grouch, thank you.
Apple experimented with open architecture too, because you could get a non-Apple Macintosh for a while back in the 90s.
Yeah,
If you,
Star? That wasn't Star.
I don't
Microsphere?
remember.
I forget the name of it now.
I don't
That's gonna
remember.
bug me.
And that was before Jobs came back. I think that was when Scully was in charge of Apple. I don't remember. And they put the kibosh on that, but that was also when Apple stock was selling for like $4 a
Supermac. Yep.
share. Paul, thank you for becoming a new member. Appreciate it. So that I don't know. Apple tried the open architecture thing and it didn't work, and they're back to completely closed now with the new stuff because I don't think you can replace much of anything in any of the new Macs that are coming out.
It's
But
hard, yeah.
a radio like that would be awesome. You know?
Well, that trash can Mac behind you, you can replace like the hard disk and upgrade the memory, hard disk, the SSD and replace the memory in it. But
Yes.
my MacBook, it is what it is. It's
Yeah.
what you got. You can't upgrade the memory. You can't easily change the battery. I mean, you can change the battery, but you can't easily change the battery. It's just it was dead end when you bought it.
Yeah. Well, and under the trash can, there's an M2 Mini Pro, and it is what it is. It will never be any
Non-upgradable, huh?
more. Yeah. If I want to add storage, I'm going to be plugging it in a USB-C connector because that's the only way to add storage. Ditto with memory or the video card. Now, the
Well, the cool
trash
thing,
can only has three potential video cards you can use. This has the middle one. I couldn't find one with the high-end card when I was buying this one. Um, but yeah, you can upgrade the SSD, which is a weird connector. You have to buy an adapter. You can't use a standard NVMe style M2 SSD.
what is it, the B key or the A key or whatever that crap is?
Yeah, you got to get the Mac Pro 2013 goofball adapter, which is plentiful. They're $8 a piece, but it won't hold a standard SSD. So if
That's
you have
that's the thing.
if you
Yeah.
have an SSD for this thing, it doesn't go in shit else except these things, unless you can buy the expensive way to go back the other way. It's bizarre. And I don't know what that decision was about. I don't know. I mean, it was 2013, so maybe there was no standard back in 2013 for NVMe. I don't know, but I thought it was weird. All right. Um, it is 8 minutes after the hour. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Steve, thank you for showing up. Steve is ready to pee and hit the road.
Yeah, I'm going to Grants. Changing states to get back to time zones.
So you're going to Grants,
New
Arizona,
Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yep.
So where are you at in Arizona right now?
Northeast.
Northeast, and you're going east,
I'm going to
south,
northwest. I'm going east. I'm trekking back up to Minnesota because of the birth of the grandchildren. We have one new
right?
grandchild in Iowa, so I'm going to see my Iowa friends when I get there. And then I'm looking at Hank and other Andy and Jeremy if you're watching, and anybody else that wants to join. And then that's in Iowa, and then looking to head to Minnesota after that. But we're going slow because the campsites aren't open.
Oh, north of the salt line, in the salt above the salt line.
Yeah. Well, they're not open because the water it's still freezing, so there's no water
Right.
service. And Hillbilly probably. I'm trying to check into the MOAR Expo also along the journey.
Awesome.
But stay tuned to the streams. We'll find out. Tomorrow
Yep.
night's Nuggets, we're going to do either APRS stuff or we're going to do APRS stuff. It depends on how Jim is feeling.
Sweet. That'll be
Because
awesome.
Jim got that pine sill that we talked about on Coffee and Ham Radios that a certain simian doesn't like because he's never tried it. He doesn't like new things, and he's grouchier than Paul.
So somebody mentioned to me, I know we need to go, and probably a bunch of you are bailing. It doesn't look like it, but somebody messaged me, and I forgot who it was, and I apologize if you're here going, it was me, you dipshit. Um, it's Rockstar Dave. Rockstar Dave in Georgia. His buddy, and I cannot remember. Rockstar Dave is KO4HRT. I remember him because he's got a cool call sign. His friend
Hostage
Walt,
rescue team. Yeah,
hostage rescue team,
I know.
and dork, and his friend Walt, and I cannot remember Walt's call sign. And I met them I met Walt at the Stone Mountain Ham Fest. I've met
It's not
HRT.
Coastal Waves and Wires Walt. It's different
Yeah,
Walt.
not that Walt. Not Salty Walt. Walt was a Motorola service manager for like 100 years, since right after Marconi sold the company to Bill Motorola. I'm making that up. So Walt,
Bill Motorola.
yeah, Bob Motorola, Joe Motorola, the Motorola brothers. So Dave gave Walt a pine sill, and Walt looked at it and shat upon it from a great height. This
Like
is
Ape did.
like Ape did. This is what Rockstar Dave told me yesterday. And then Walt tried it. And he said, now, Jim, Walt has 3 high-end Weller soldering stations on his workbench.
High end and Weller. That's funny.
They are high-end. Weller?
I mean, it's a soldering iron. What more do you need other than it comes
Well,
on and maintains temperature?
right. Anyway, a Veller, I should say Veller. I apologize to any of our
Vela.
European friends who are offended by that.
While we say solder.
Right? And we know
My
that
Veller
that's a bad
soldering
word.
station. Yeah.
That's a bad word in half of the EU and Britain. See how I separated you guys out from the rest of those EU people? And I know we have some EU in here because I saw Neil's in here, and I know Eamon's in here. But and he said Walt loves the thing. He said he hasn't thrown out his Weller soldering stations, but he barely uses them. He loves the pine sill. So maybe the simian is not correct. But I got to say,
I can tell you he's not.
I thought it'd be bigger. I thought I bought the wrong thing when I got that and opened the box and went, what the hell is this tiny little thing? Is this the
Well,
tip?
yeah, well, it is. It's just the tip. Remember, they've offloaded all of the power supply choices, so you can run it off of your
Right.
ham radio
Yeah.
workbench, or you can run it off of a quality USB-C power supply, or
Yeah.
you can run it off of a battery, which I run mine off of a USB-C power supply connected to a 100 amp hour battery.
And this is the pine sill box for comparison.
It's in 2 parts in that box, by the way.
There's my hand. So, and I need to put together my KV4P Android radio too, and pair it up to my old Android phone. So I'll probably be using this for that. And T.O.'s right. This is cool because this thing, the tip goes in like so, and then you run this off of, and I doubt that the camera's going to see that. Maybe
Now we got it. Yeah. 5525 or USB-C.
Or USB-C.
Yeah.
So
I've
I
only
now
used mine
have
like
a
100
battery
times.
soldering iron that might be useful. Oh, I know what he did. Walt threw out his propane or his butane soldering irons.
Oh, much better than butane. Yeah.
And I've used butane ones, and they work the first couple months you have them, and then they never work again, or you can't get it to stay lit. So I'm
Jim,
looking forward to playing with that.
take a look at 3D printed cases for that too. There's some really sweet stuff out there.
Oh, there you go. I got a new 3D printer yesterday, so
Yeah.
I need to print stuff with it. Awesome.
And if you saw the tip that Jim held up, it's the exact same style of tip. It's not the same. You can't go buy a Hacko tip and shove it in there, as far as I recall. But there are plenty of tips available for it. It's the same thermal mass. It's the same size. It's the same shape. It's the same. It's the blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So, when Ape holds up his Hacko, which I recommended he get, which is a good soldering iron, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about because they're the same. I think
Now,
he's just doing it
Rockstar
to be disagreeable.
to be Ape. Now, Rockstar Dave did say that I should get a chisel tip for this because he said he doesn't care for this. So I'll probably end up buying a chisel tip just to have a spare tip anyway. But Jason, I got a the new printer is a Anycubic Cobra S1 enclosed Core XY, heated chamber, heated bed, gets hot as hell. Excuse me, it just came in yesterday, so I'm looking forward to playing with it. And I have the Cheedy Plus 4, which I really like because that thing is a beast. It's a giant. Steve, if you need to go, I'm proselytizing about
I
printers.
do.
Tell Chris I said, hey,
You're gonna keep talking without me?
I'm going to keep talking without you for just a
All
minute.
right.
But
I'm gonna go pack up.
I need a
I'm,
new
I'm
boat and a Coke.
yeah. I gotta drain and hitch and go.
Roger that. See you, buddy.
See ya.
So the Cheedy printer, I like it because it's 305 by 305. So that is a large print bed. For me, it's fine. Honestly, all the bamboos, for reference, are, except the A1 Mini, all the bamboos are 256 cube. So the Cheedy is a good bit bigger. It's 305 by 305 by 280, I think. A little shorter on the Z height. But I love it. The Cheedy is $800, and the Cobra S1 is it's around $6, might be a little less. It's in line with the P1S pricing, I think. And it has a way better screen than a P1S. I'm just going to go straight out on that one. The touchscreen on it is great. LC, no, I do not have a 3D printing channel because I don't have a good place to set up 3D printers where I could show them all the time. And I have 3D printers in 2 different rooms in the house, and I have to be concerned about Mrs. Perry getting annoyed with me. So, but yeah, Jonathan's ass is crazy. He's talking about getting the Gigastorm Orange, or what, Orange Gigastorm or whatever, which is like, I don't know, a meter cubed, maybe a meter and a half cubed. It's a huge thing. No, Jonathan, put down the giant printer and slowly walk away. But 450 cubed, that's pretty large, Hef. Which Soval is that? I don't remember. I don't know a lot about Sovals. I had a longer 3D printer, Bedslinger, which I re-gifted to my friend at work for her son. And it was like 350 by 350 cubed. I think 350 cubed on that guy. So, yes, other Andy, the S1 is plugged in, and I printed a Battle Benchy last night on it before I went to bed. That's about as far as I got. I will say on the S1 that the Wi-Fi on it seems a little sketch. Like it wants to disconnect. And I saw one thing where somebody said, hang the Wi-Fi antenna outside. So I'll probably pop the cover off of it and take a look at how they've got the antenna rigged for the Wi-Fi connector. That's the only thing I've seen. It's like I'm watching a print last night when I was printing this Benchy, and it would disconnect and then reconnect, and then disconnect and then reconnect. The print was going fine, but my web browser connection watching the camera kept in and out. And I think that's the Wi-Fi antenna. And it's not like Apple's never screwed the pooch on a Wi-Fi antenna either. So anyway, Jimmy, if I want something printed but don't have a printer, any suggestions from the group? If you're talking about buying one, Jimmy, A1 Mini for a beginner is a smoking awesome deal. It's a great printer. It's not huge. It's 180 mil cubed, whatever that is in American. I can't math it that fast. 10 inches, maybe? No, that's not right. That's 250. 7.5, 8.5 inches, somewhere in there. Square and then high. And it's like $200. And it's a great printer. It's fast. It's not as fast as an enclosed Core XY printer, but it's fast enough, and way the hell faster than an Ender 3 anything. and it's a bamboo. It works great. It's a solid printer. I have an A1 Mini. I actually have an A1 Mini, and I still use it all the time. And theoretically, you can print stuff at your local library. I don't know. I don't go to the library here. I get all my books online. I read digital books, so I don't go to the library. Covain, no, I have not tried a resin printer for the simple reason that I have cats, and resin is a mess, and I don't print a lot of miniature stuff. I could get one and set it up out in my shop, but I just don't want to fool with resin because it's not going to do anything for me that FDM won't. For me, there's nothing wrong with resin printers, and they have, what I understand, really high resolution prints, very detailed prints, much more so than FDM printers, I understand, but I just don't have a use for one, and for me, it's just not anything I've ever wanted to screw with, because there's resin you got to deal with, and then you got to wash it, and you got to cure it, and anyway. Yeah, LC, I can see that. Yeah, and fumes. Yeah, and again, that's why I'd have to be out in the shop. I haven't even printed ASA or ABS in the house yet. I can, I think, because I've got enough filtration now, but right. Anyway, guys, I need to go because like an old man, I need to make water. I also need a new pot. Fellas, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. 73. I'll be dropping a video later today, tomorrow sometime. Have a good one, guys. I'm hitting the button.